Hey everybody, welcome back. Hollywood Pizza here, and we've got a pretty spicy deck list for you today. We've got mono white mid-range. That's right, we're taking a mono white deck into Explore, and it's not even a beatdown deck. So this is actually based off of a deck list that ended up going 5-2 in one of our PizzaBox opens, so they actually almost top 8'd. Definitely made some changes to it. We're gonna go over the deck list here, so let's dive right in and see what we got going on for you today. So to start off the deck list here, in our early slots, we've got a few 2-drops. First one being Ambitious Farmhand, so colorless and a white for a 1/1 when it comes into play. You get to go grab a Plains card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle, and then Coven. If you have 3 creatures with different powers, 3 or more creatures different powers, and you get to pay 2 white and a colorless, turns into a 3/3 lifelink. So really good card early. It helps get your lands into your hand to cast your spells, and then later on it can turn into potentially a 3/3 lifelinking threat that could help get you back in the game or finish the game off. We have 2 Lion Sash in the main deck, which is just a phenomenal card right now against a lot of different graveyard strategies. Colorless and a white for a 1/1. You can pay... It's actually an equipment cat, so you can pay a white, exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a permanent, it gets a +1/+1 counter on it. And then equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on this card, and then you can reconfigure it so you can put it on a creature or unattach it for 2 colorless mana. Just a really solid card overall, very reminiscent of like what Scavenging Ooze kind of does in the green decks. Obviously this card doesn't gain you the life, but still being able to get rid of some spells like a Deluge or even some problematic creatures that your opponent's going to get back is really just phenomenal. And it's also a great way to attack like Graveyard Trespassers, considering that those are the cards as well that really rely on the graveyard to get those extra points of damage through. And then later on, Lion Sash kind of just gets really big and it's a hard card to deal with. So we also have 4 Spirited Companions here, colorless and a white for a 1/1. When it comes into play, you get to draw a card. Pretty straightforward, just an enchantment creature. Not really much else going on here. 2 mana 1/1. That kind of just replaces itself, gives you a little bit of some time, maybe a chump block. Or maybe you can get it back later with Restoration of Ganjo, which we'll get to here in a moment. We also have 2 Birth of Meletis, so colorless and a white. So when it comes in, it's a saga. You get to search your library for a basic Plains card, put in your hand for the first chapter. Then you get to make a 0/4 wall artifact creature token with Defender, and then you get to gain 2 life. So another card that kind of just helps get you to later in the game to cast our namesake card of the deck that essentially gives us the win, which we'll get to here eventually. We also have 1 of Bankbuster, just a nice early card, 2 colorless. Comes in with 3 charge counters on it. It's a 4/4 vehicle. It crews for 3, and you can also pay 2 colorless, tap it, remove a counter from Bankbuster to draw a card. And then when it has no counters on it, you get to make a treasure and a 1/1. So just a really, really powerful card overall. Helps in the early game, you can get it down, draw a bunch of cards, and then later on, it makes a creature that can crew itself, or you can kind of use some of the creatures that you've got lying around crew it. And we talked about Restoration of Ganjo, but this is actually a really strong card in the deck here. So 2 colorless and a white. When it comes into play, you get to search your library for a basic Plains, put it in your hand. That's the first chapter. Second chapter, you can discard a card. If you do, return a permanent mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So you can actually return a land into play tapped, or you can get back any of these fantastic 2-drops in Farmhand, the Sash, Companion, the Birth, and even the Record of Bankbuster. So there's tons of value in Restoration as well. And then on top of that, for the third part of the chapter, or excuse me, the third part of the saga, third chapter here, we actually get a 3/4 with Vigilance that whenever it attacks your box, gets us a 1/1 colorless spirit token, and we can start to take over the game with that. And on top of that, this card can also crew Reckon of Bankbuster, so lots of value here in Restoration of Ganjo for sure. A card that I actually added to the main deck. So before, the person that played this deck, they actually were playing Cavaliers. So that's actually what BlaqTrav was actually playing in their deck. It was like a 5-drop that when it came in, it destroyed a permanent, and then that permanent's controller got a 3/3, and then if that card died, you can get an enchantment or an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. So it was fine for some value. You can maybe get like your ECD, your Birth, things like that, Lion Sash later in the game, but I honestly felt like I wanted something to kind of bridge the gap in between the early turns and the mid to late game. And I wanted to try out History Banale. It's a card that actually doesn't really get played too much in Explorer, but I think it's really good in this deck. So 2 white and a colorless for a saga. First and second chapter, you get a 2/2 white knight with Vigilance, so pretty good already. And then the final chapter, knight you control get +2/+1. So it's a really good card where it can help be aggressive in the right matchup and also give you blockers and just tons of value just by itself. So just a really, really phenomenal card that I've been actually quite happy with by adding it to the deck, where you have a really good 3-drop that really helps smooth the deck out. Other considerations would be cards like Elite Spellbinder, anything like that that gives you some information as well. But I really like the fact that when we play History Banale, it gives us 3 parts of a card that our opponent essentially has to deal with or be ready for, considering that if it comes down to it, we can also flip our Ambitious Farmhand into a Season Cathar, which is a knight, And then the third chapter of Historbenale actually pumps that up as well. So there's definitely some situations in the deck where you kind of get a lot of value out of Historbenale, and I've been really happy with it so far. For our 4-drops here, we actually have 3 board wipes, board clears. One technically being only on the opponent's side. We have Settle the Wreckage, 2 colorless, double white, instant. Exile all attacking creatures target player controls, then that player can search their library for that many basic lands, put them on a battlefield tap. So really, really nuts card for, 4 mana. Your opponent attacks with 3 or 4 creatures, you just Settle the Wreckage, get rid of all their permanents, and then you can kind of just start to take over the game from there. On top of that, we also have Shatter the Sky, 2 colorless, 2 white. It destroys all creatures in play. Each player who controlled a creature power 4 greater does draw a card. So it's a really good card here to kind of just wipe the board early. And we also have 2 Wandering Emperor, a card that I actually included into the deck as well. Just one of the best cards you could be playing in white. 2 colorless, 2 white, comes in with 3 loyalty, flash. If it entered the battlefield this turn, you could use its abilities at instant speed and adds +1. Put a +1/+1 count on a creature, gains first strike until on a turn, -1. Get a 2/2 Samurai with Vigilance token, and then -2. Exile a tap creature and gain 2 life. Usually the ability you're going to use the most. Exile a card and then start to make some Samurais and start to take over the board in that way, or maybe even just like wipe the board early and then get a Wandering Emperor down is also just phenomenal. And to round out our board wipes here, we actually have 2 more. The first one being Doomscar, 3 colorless, 2 white. Destroy all creatures. You can foretell it for 2 colorless and then cast it for 2 white and a colorless, so you can essentially foretell it on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you're going to have a board wipe that's ready for red deck wins or any type of aggressive strategy like that. And we also have Farewell, 4 colorless, 2 white. It's a sorcery. You get to choose 1 or more. You exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards. So a lot of the time you're probably just going to do all of it. Just a really, really powerful board wipe. And we also added Ondoom Version. This is a card that I actually saw Rich, who commentated on our latest PizzaBox open there. They added Ondoom Version. That was great because the deck only plays like 20 lands, so having additional lands is nice. But on top of that, having a card later in the game that you can just blow up all permanents is pretty sweet. And the rest of the deck here, we have 3 Elspeth Conquers Death, 3 colorless, 2 white. It's a saga. When it comes in, first chapter, you get to exile a permanent opponent controls 3 or greater. Mana value 3 or greater, excuse me. Second part, non-creature spells your opponent's cast costs 2 more until the end of your next turn, and then you get to return something. A creature or a planeswalker from the graveyard to the battlefield, and it'll come in with an extra counter or loyalty if that's what you choose. So just a really strong card against a lot of different permanents right now in the format. You can get rid of Graveyard Trespasser, Teferi, Fable as well. Just a really strong card overall. And we also have 4 Approach of the Second Sun, which is actually going to be one of the ways that you're going to win with this deck. So Approach, 6 colorless and a white. If this spell was cast from your hand and you cast another spell, name this card, you win the game. Otherwise, it goes into your library 7 from the top, and you gain 7. So it gains you 7, it gives you a ton of time, and then on top of that, you can just have games where you pretty much just cast the first one, and then inevitability is you survive for 7 turns, you cast the second one, and you just outright win the game. Or there's definitely been plenty of games for us specifically where we just cast Approach, and then the next turn we cast the other Approach that was in our hand, and just outright win the game. So it's a really great card where essentially you're kind of just stalling out your opponent as much as you can, and then you can win by just having like a wide board state, or you just win by casting Approach twice in the game, and then that's pretty much it. So having this in the deck definitely gives us a nice failsafe against a lot of different strategies. In our sideboard here, to start off, we got 3 Hushbringers. So it's a 2 mana 1/2 flying lifelink. Creatures entering or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. Just a really good card against different strategies, specifically cards that have come into play effects. It's just really, really strong against them. Maybe like green decks, anything like that. But overall, Hushbringer, just a really strong card. We also have an extra Lion Sash for the Grease Fang or any type of graveyard strategies. Just a really powerful card like we mentioned earlier in the deck. 2 Rest in Peace against anything that's also another graveyard strategy. It's 2 mana, and when it comes in, it exiles all graveyards, and then if anything we put in the graveyard, it gets exiled instead. So just really, really strong against graveyard strategies. And I've also used this against rogues, where it was just really powerful and kind of just shut down their whole strategy as well. You have 2 Unbreakable formations against anything that's going to be playing board wipes. It gives your creatures indestructible, and if you do it during your main phase, you actually get to put a +1/+1 count on each creature and the gain vigilance. So really, really powerful card overall. You're going to want to be bringing this in against the control matchup or anything that's just going to kill a lot of your cards. We have one of Giant Killer to help against anything that's going to be like a big threat. And then on top of that, we also have the creature side of it that can eventually start to tap cards down. So it ends up just being a really great 2-for-1. We're trying out one of Flamescroll Celebrant, so we can't cast that side, but the side that we're mostly worried about is casting Revel in Silence, which essentially if you cast this on your opponent's upkeep, they can't cast any spells or even activate any Planeswalker's abilities for that turn. So against control, pretty strong card. You just cast it and then they can't do anything on their turn, and then it comes back to you and you're able to kind of do some more things again. We also have 2 Unlicensed Hearse here against any type of Grease Fang, like we stated earlier with the Lion Sash. or just graveyard strategies. Unlicensed Hearse is definitely just a phenomenal card to help with that. 2 Archon of Emirias against anything that's combo-y, or like red deck that's just going to be trying to cast multiple cards in a turn. Archon's just phenomenal to shut those decks down. And 1 of God Eternal Oketra. Just a solid card. We saw that their sideboard actually had 3, but I just felt like we're already playing so many expensive cards that we don't necessarily just want this all the time. I think just trying out 1 and then maybe seeing what we need to add after that is probably best, but overall, I know that I've had a blast playing this deck, and it definitely has a lot of different ways to play it, a lot of different lines. On top of that, you just have inevitability with Approach of the Second Sun, and not many fair decks end up doing that. So it's quite interesting that in our deck itself, we just have like an automatic way to win, pretty much, in case the game starts to go south, or if we just have, run out of gas and being able to stop our opponent, we can just stall the game and be at like 30, 40 life and know that our approach is just going to win us the game. But overall, I actually think this is a deck that I recommend for the ladder. We're actually be playing in the Mythic ladder here in a moment, and it also ended up going 5-2, so it almost top 8'd one of our tournaments. So a really, really good deck against Rakdos as well. It was definitely taking down the Rakdos decks on stream left and right. So I think overall, just a powerful strategy that definitely has a lot of different ways to build as well. So let's go and jump into some games and see how we do. Playing some mono white mid-range on the ladder here. See if we can rank up. All the while grinding down our opponents here. Gonna be on the draw to start the match. See what our opponent's up to here. They do have Jegantha, so more than likely that we're up against Rakdos Sacrifice. I actually think this hand's pretty keepable. We've got 2 cards that get us planes, get us closer to this approach. And they're starting off with a Mystic, which is pretty surprising, I think. Okay, into Bone Crusher. So Elspeth does look pretty good here. Could also Birth. And get an 0-4. Farmhand creates a body on the battlefield. We'd be able to just block the Bone Crusher. Lots of interesting plays here. Could take the hit. We get the 0-4. That would just block anyways. Play Benalia. Yeah, I think this is probably better just because we get more value off of the Saga than we do off of a chump block. We gain a little bit less life because this theoretically will gain us 4, but then all that we'd have after that would be a history. That's not really that impressive. So now we can Benalia, use all of our mana, we'll get a token. Pass the turn back. Really looking for like a board wipe here, just to be able to clear everything that's out on the battlefield right now. And they're going to attack. I think we can block with the 2-2 potentially, or we block with the 0-4. Save ourselves some damage here, knowing either way it's just going to die. They can't cast Embercleave. They don't have enough mana. Could have a Collected Company, but they're choosing to put Jegantha in their hand. Okay. We draw Line Sash. Okay, so let's get a Plains down. Let's get a Farmhand. Get a Plains out of our deck. Let's get a Companion down. Okay, Ondoom version, still a land. This has Vigilance. We can come in for 2. I don't really see anything too wrong with it. They want to trade their spirits. We're okay with that. Yep. Gets rid of 2 cards off the battlefield. They tap out for Jegantha. We still have ECD here. And we can just try to trade if they have a spell. They have a spell. And looks like we're just trading. Definitely keep the Farmhand here. It's a better card. They do just slam the Jegantha. We don't get any triggers there. I think we just ECD here. And could swing. I think we'll just hold it back. If we get in the yard, we can get it back with the Elspeth. And I think we're blocking and saving ourselves some damage here. Let's see, we take 5, go down to 11. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's okay. We can play the undo tapped. Okay, so either way, we still have enough mana now to cast both of these back to back. We have a Wandering Emperor. I think we'll just pass back. Their Ember Cleave costs 2 more mana, or Collect the Company ends up costing 6 mana right now. Until our turn, so it looks like they're just going to go for the Den. Yep, just going to attack. Get a Wandering Emperor down. Token will come in, killing the Wandering Emperor, but it actually still saves us a little bit of some life, which I don't mind. Then we can just cast Approach. Even have a Shatter. Can also bring back the Wandering Emperor. Gets an additional loyalty counter on it. Let's see. Yeah, I actually like that. We can just Shatter. Play our own Scavenging Ooze, essentially. Now let's just get rid of this. Let's make a token. And now we have 2 cards that protect our Wandering Emperor from their creature land, but it looks like they just have a Skyship, which is pretty good. It's going to kill that, though. Okay, let's just go ahead, approach. Let's uptick on the Samurai. Because either way, they're probably just going to kill the Wandering Emperor here. They can crew with the boat, hit it for 6. Okay, make it 3. Yeah, make that a 1/1, sure. Yep. That's fine. We're just going to cast the second approach in our hand and win the game. So, pretty quick game for us there. We were just able to control the board and get both copies of approach back to back. So, it's mostly like what our game plan usually is against a lot of fair decks. Let's see. So, we're up against aggro here. Lion Sash seems okay. Let's see. Hushbringer's only creatures. Don't really have too much against the aggressive decks. We could bring in another Giant Killer. Or excuse me, could bring in a Giant Killer just because it's hard removal. Potentially over ECD seems okay. It's going to be able to exile some things. Maybe a companion. Maybe even history. History could be a little bit worse on the draw. Let's try something like that. But yeah, history gives us less threats, but we're already just like trying to control the board until we hit our approach, so I don't really think it matters getting rid of some cards that on rate are going to be a lot worse than our opponents, and we end up having in our opening hand, which is fine. I'm taking a damage for the Land of Wealth. So let's see what they got here. Maybe Lovestruck Beast. And it is. So let's go and get a land. Probably just save myself some life here by blocking and then blocking again with the history. But they just have a stomp, so we're going to take 6 here, I believe. Okay, no Llanowar Elf, so do they have a follow-up elf? And they do. Okay, and another Mystic, so Settle looking pretty good. if we can hit it. Let's play history as a chump blocker. So settle lining up good if they end up attacking with everything. Definitely hoping that they do at some point here. We can just block. Could keep it out if we really wanted to, but I think I'm okay. And another, just all the land worlds here from our opponent. And I think we're just going to pass with the settle here, hoping that they swing out. And they're going to activate the den. So they're definitely coming in with everything, and we'll just settle. Yep, they get a 1/1, sure. We'll just settle the wreckage, get rid of all their creatures. And our opponent's going to scoop it up. Let's see how the next match goes.
This video is brought to you by MagicJank.com, the spiciest cards for your sauciest decks. Buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear today on MagicJank.com.
Grinding it out on the ladder with some mono white here. Let's see how we do. Gonna be on the draw to start this match. And mostly just hoping to be playing up against usually like creature decks. Non-interactive decks where we can cast our approaches a couple times. And we'll see if our opponent chooses to be on the play, and they do. I think we can keep this hand. It's pretty good. Can do any of our 2-drops on turn 2, especially if we draw a plains. Or more than likely we end up using this Birth of Meletis. And I think we're just going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and get our plains here, potentially. If our opponent counters it, we're pretty okay with that. Seeing as how we have other 2-drops we can still play, but we got pretty lucky that they let it resolve, and we'll actually be able to get this restoration down. And they're going to cycle that sensor away. Okay. And they play a tap land, pass it back. I'm almost more inclined to play this Spirited Companion because we saw the sensor. So I don't just want to run out this restoration into it. And Doomscar is not bad, just another board wipe. If our opponent plays creatures, we definitely got some cards to get rid of them, so not going to be a problem. We'll gain a couple life right now. If we had a second approach, we'll just be able to go back to back with approaches and just automatically win. Gonna come in for a point of damage here. I think we want to try this restoration to try to get a plains. Alright, it resolves, so let's go and get a plains. Can also just go get Restoration of Meletis. So we're going to be up to 5 lands. Okay, opponent has Teferi. Pretty scary, though. Definitely not what we want to see. Looking for ECD. We do draw it. Let's get rid of this Doomscar. Let's get back Birth of Meletis. Get back a plains out of our deck. So thin our deck out just a little bit. Let's attack Teferi for 1. See if our opponent falls for any kind of bait here. And we're just going to try the Elspeth Conquers Death and see if it gets there for us. Obviously our opponent could just have like a Censor or Dovin's Veto, but they actually didn't have a counterspell for it, so we got rid of Teferi. It is no longer on the battlefield here. Okay, Vanishing Verse is going to get rid of our Elspeth Conquers Death, though. Opponent with 3 mana. We draw Arvindale, which is pretty nice. And we get to flip over the Saga. So I think we'll just go for another Restoration here, thin out the deck. Get some more mana. Attack our opponent for 1 damage. Could play Lion Sash. There's almost like no reason to play. There's nothing to get out of the graveyard. I think I'd rather just pass it back and try to get these approaches going. Okay, they just hit a farewell. So we're actually going to get to resolve an approach. So it is going to go back into the deck in 7 draws. We get it again. We'll just play a Castle Arvindale. Pass the turn back. And in a few draws, we'll be able to have approach again. So they're going to get a Samurai. We have a Doomscar in case the board gets out of control. Shatter the Sky, Undo Inversion. Got all these cards that deal with permanents. Can also just make a token and block. And that's just what we're going to do here. We have 4 cards in their hand. We hit a history. So I actually think Shatter plus History Benalia is probably fine. Let's get rid of their cards. Let's play History Benalia, see if they have a counterspell for us. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They also have all the Summer Giants, which is pretty good. Okay, Memory Deluge, it's fine. We're 5 draws away. They hit a Dovin's Veto. And I think I'll just play the Lion Sash. It can definitely grow pretty big now. Can also get rid of this Memory Deluge. Or make our opponent pretty much tap out for it. And yep, just another Deluge here. So they're going to main phase it. Pretty much taps them out. They'll probably make a 2/2 here. Or if they, I guess if they made the 2/2, they'd lose the Emperor. So it depends how much they value the Emperor right now. Okay, yep, just going to make the 2/2. They have 2 mana available. So we have a Fable Passage, but we obviously don't want to crack it. Let's see, we have Undo Inversion. We can get rid of their Wandering Emperor. I think we just attack with the Lion Sash and see what they do here. We'll go ahead and just exile this Wandering Emperor. Exile Benalia. Hit them for 3. And I think we just pass. We can make a token. We're at 29. Gonna Fatal Push. That's fine. Just make a token here. And we'll go down to 27. Not really too worried about it. See what our opponent has. Let's just make a token off the Castle Arvindale. And we'll draw History Benalia, which is pretty good. 3 more draws, so I think we just play the history here. Still seeing if we can get some cards out of our opponent's hand. And we'll pass turn back. Alright, they got a Wandering Emperor. Just pass it back. 4 cards left for our opponent. They got some Samurai. We do have a board wipe in case the game gets a bit out of control. And they're going to come in for 3. We're just going to take it. Not really too worried about it. Let's make another token. Withdrawal, Ambitious Farmhand. Don't need to do it. Still have 2 more draws. Think we just pass the turn. See what we top deck next turn. Okay, shark for 8. That's pretty good. Definitely can't chump block that. We do have a Doomscar that we're going to try to cast. We can also just chump block here. So I'm pretty sure they're just going to attack out. I would think so. Okay, no attack out. Let's make a 1/1. Get a birth. Not really impressive. So we have approach next turn. Don't have a way to redraw. Could swing out. They have Haul to block. Could also just Doomscar. That doesn't really do anything though, I don't think. Feel like I'm just okay passing the turn back again. Just gonna pass back. They get another big shark, we don't just die. Because we're still at 24. Okay, gonna make a samurai. And yep, just gonna take the 8 here. Don't really have a choice. It's not like we can do anything about it. We'll make a 1/1. Let's play the Fable. Let's try to approach. Alright, they got the veto. Put Doomscar on the side, which wouldn't be that bad. Can't cast it. I think that's fine. Gonna need to wipe the board at some point here. Alright, gonna get a redraw. Oh, we're definitely in some trouble still. Yep, just gonna pump up Samurai. Can make some blocks, then try to board wipe here. Okay, just 8. Okay, so we draw another Plains. Let's try to Doomscar first. And if that doesn't work, we actually have Ondu Inversion, which ends up blowing up the Wandering Emperor as well. But doesn't look like our opponent ended up falling for it. Let's go ahead and play Birth. Thin our deck out just a little bit more. And we can still... Can't make a token and do both. We can play Farmhand. Yeah, I think Farmhand's fine. Pretty close to about the same cards in the deck. Same amount of cards. This matchup's definitely going to take a while. Okay, they get a 9/9. And there's actually no way for us to block this, so let's go and concede. Pretty tough there. Don't have any instant speed outside of this in the sideboard. So we're up against control. A little bit of a harder matchup. I think we definitely want the Revel in Silence. And we almost want all of our threats here, so let's get rid of some Doomscars. I think the Shatter's still fine. Or we actually just keep one of each, just in case we have to kill some samurais. And we want to be a little bit more aggressive, so I guess we bring in God Eternal. And Lion Sash is a 2-drop. Yeah, I think that's like a little bit better. Hers, I think it's just okay. We really need some cards to crew it, so if we don't have any threats anyways, it's kind of hard to attack with that card to begin with. Alright, going to be on the play here. A little bit of an awkward hand. I think that we do keep it though, because we don't want to be down on cards against control. So even if our land's coming to play tapped, I think it's alright. See if our opponent ends up keeping their hand, or what they have for us here in this game. So our game plan of approach is going to be a little bit rough considering they do have counter spells, but we can maybe try to get them to tap out in a turn. Okay, we do hit the plains, so I think that we play Companion here. Then we can follow it up with History of Benalia. They potentially do have a counterspell, so it's almost better to farmhand because we also get the land that we need to cast our spells. So let's do that. Get a plains, come in for a point of damage. And I think I want to keep this Giant Killer for later. Don't just want to run into Supreme Verdict in case they did keep that in their deck, which is more than likely considering that we're potentially going to be more beat down this game. And it looks like they're actually stuck on mana, so we'll go ahead and cast this History. Or at least try to resolve it, and it does. We're going to come in for 2 points of damage. And pass turn back. Okay, Noxious Grasp on the Knight, which is fine. Still have some beatdown going. We have Reckoner Bankbuster. Okay, let's play Birth of Meletus first. Play the Bankbuster, which we can crew as well with the Giant Killer or the Lion Sash. Okay, just an Absorb. So opponent is going to gain some life, but still have some creatures on the battlefield here. And we can cast this Elspeth to exile anything that's pretty big if they end up doing that. Looks like our opponent's just digging for land. And they do end up hitting it. It's a tap land. Let's pump up our knights. Gonna actually flip this over, hit our opponent for a good amount of damage, down to 9. And let's see here, do we want to play the Lion Sash? We may want to. Get a feeling that they'll play Wandering Emperor maybe, or they could still just have the Supreme Verdict, which would be kind of annoying. Next turn, this is only 6. Yeah, let's get this down. I think it's worth a little bit just because we have other cards. Alright, so either way they did end up having the Supreme Verdict, so a little bit tough there for us. Okay, we still have Wandering Emperor. And we have ECD, so we could really just play the Elspeths. But I think I'd rather try to slam this Wandering Emperor on their turn to see if they have a response. Okay, they do have Teferi. So I think we'll just let Teferi resolve here. Yep, gonna draw. Let's get a Samurai. So we can actually start attacking the Teferi. Untap 2 lands. We hit a plains. Get a feeling they do have a counterspell. Okay, no counterspell, so Teferi is just going to be gone. And our opponent's going to take 3 damage here, go down to 6. Let's bounce it back. And they just have a Memory Deluge, which is still really good. Definitely digging for the cards that they need here. And we hit Approach, but we don't have the land to play it. Opponent's at 6. We just make another Samurai here. Hit our opponent for 3. And let's pass turn back. We have Giant Killer for a Shark. Another Wandering Emperor to make a lethal threat. And let's make a 1/1 token here. We hit a plains. We're going to get back. Let's see. We can get back a Spirited Companion. I think that's what we do. Let's see if they just have like an exile spell here for us. Maybe they do. Okay, just gonna flashback, cling to dust. That's fine. Gonna go back up to 6. Let's pump up the token. Play our land, come in for damage. Okay, they have their own Wandering Emperor. So they're going to exile that. Is there a way for us to stop that from happening? We could gain the life instead. I think we're just going to have to let that happen. Yep, just going to cast an Approach here. Kind of attack from a few different angles. Could have a Supreme Verdict here, which would be pretty good. Can't escape this again. Four cards in hand. Okay, farewell. Yep, just gonna get rid of creatures. That's fine. I mean, it costs a lot of mana for them to do that. And they're probably just gonna uptick here. Wow, going for a Samurai. Okay. Pretty interesting. Let's farmhand. We actually cannot go get a plains though. But we can uptick and make a token, which I think is fine. Let's uptick here. Let's pass turn back. If they end up trying to get rid of this, we can just make a token and block. And I just think making a token in general seems pretty good. No attacks. So yeah, let's go ahead and make a token here. Okay, Doomscar. It's okay. Well, they might have another Wandering Emperor. It's definitely the problem we're going to run into here, potentially. So they're going to block there. This will get them down to 1. We could just try to go for it. They have 3 cards in hand. They can still cast the Deluge and have mana open as well. think we just try to go for it here. Okay, they just had counterspell anyways. That's fine. Can cast Giant Killer. They can Deluge. So it's looking pretty rough. But I think we're still going to go for this Giant Killer and pass turn back. So we have 2 board wipes. Unfortunately, these aren't really going to do anything this game. At least right now they're not. We're a few cards away from getting our approach back, but it also has a resolve. Okay, opponent with a Teferi. Gonna get a redraw here. And we still have a Giant Killer to tap something down, so opponent isn't completely out of it just yet. Okay, Supreme Verdict coming down. Gonna get to have 4 mana open here now, so they still can counter something. We hit a History Benalia, which is still a threat. Cards that they have to deal with. So we'll make a Knight, we'll make a Samurai. And we'll pass it back. So still a few draws away here, but they have another Deluge, which is pretty rough. So you can definitely see how this is going to be like a tough matchup for us. We're able to get our opponent down to pretty low life, but their own Wandering Emperors definitely help them out quite a bit here. And now they have Teferi going, so it's going to be quite an uphill battle here. Okay, just going to get rid of the Emperor. We might have wanted our Unbreakable Formations here as well. That might have been a mistake not bringing them in. So let's see, we can definitely attack our opponent for 4. And they gotta have an answer for us somewhere. Okay, just another Wandering Emperor. So they'll make a Samurai, they get to block. Gonna go down to 2. Let's make another History Benalia. Trying to just maximize on our threats here. Next turn, 2 of these Knights are gonna be big, especially if this resolves. Still a few draws away as well from hitting our approach, and we're still trying to dodge a removal spell, or excuse me, a counter spell. Okay, opponent with a Deluge here. And it's definitely a grind. I mean, we've got 3 creatures still, and one of these History Benali's is going to make another one. And on top of that, we have Castle Arvindale, so still got some things on the battlefield that are posing a threat to our opponent here, on top of us having a few cards deep into our deck here. That's just an auto win if it resolves. Our opponent going to hard cast the Shark Typhoon. So they're going to try to outrace us here. We hit Birth. And I think we still attack. Could wait a turn. It might end up being better. Let's see. Oh, we're still 2 away from this. I think we just make our opponents have it. They have a settle, they have a settle. Maybe we'll get settled back this match. Looking in their graveyard. Okay, just a Cling to Dust, get a redraw. Okay, they get a 1/1 Shark, so they have a blocker. And they gotta have another spell here at instant speed, I'm guessing. Okay, go into time. Okay, just gonna make another 1/1 shark, get a redraw. Go into blocks. And they're just gonna block everything. That's fine. Just get some blocks in there, and then we can make another creature end step. Teferi's getting closer to ultimate, though, which is obviously scary. And on top of that, opponent has a Shark Typhoon that they're untapping with, so we're definitely in some trouble either way. Definitely stalling the game out pretty good, but... Alright, looks like they're just going to cycle here, looking for an answer maybe. Okay, Behold the Multiverse makes them a Shark token. One top, one bottom. I think we already used both of our Wandering Emperors. Let's take a look here. Yeah, we used both of them already, so... Don't have any pump spells in the deck. And they're just going to pass it back with a lot of mana open. So we're definitely in some trouble here. Gonna make a token. Really wanting that Giant Killer now, but I don't think we had a choice but to play it earlier. So we had a Fable Passage, definitely not the card we want to see. Have to go for the attack here. Okay, they just have another Wandering Emperor, so they get a 4/4. So they can block, make some trades. I haven't even gone through that many counter spells. Okay, making a knight. Yep, just gonna block out. So we're both just left with the creature. And we're just gonna pass. I mean, we're not dead yet. Might end up having to concede next turn if this Teferi goes off and they exile a couple of our lands. Is the way that we're out of it here. So yep. Gonna down tick. I can't escape. Gonna censor. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just use it in response, but I think that that might be GG now because they're going to get rid of our land, so we're not actually just not going to get to cast our approach here on the following turn. Well, let's see what they do. They're definitely thinking about it. They might just have the win, but they're just potentially thinking about all their options. Yep, just going with the clean to dust here, so not going to be able to beat them that way, unfortunately. Got pretty close, I think, that second game, but it's still going to be a tough matchup either way, so let's see how our next match goes. Looking for the latest comic book to add to your collection? How about the last card for that Magic the Gathering Commander deck? Well, the comic book store's got you covered. Shop online at comicbookstore.tcgplayerpro.com or come in person at 30 North Main Street, Glassboro, New Jersey. Pizza people, are you enjoying the content? Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Hit that bell icon as well. That way, anytime any of our new content comes out, you're able to see it right away. Hey, leave a comment down below as well. Tell us what you're going to play in the next event, or tell us what you're enjoying about the video. Don't forget, check out the description too. We've got tons of great content down below, and on top of that, we're going to have our tournament schedule too, so get in on it. Hope to see you. Playing some more mono white mid-range here on the ladder. Let's see if we can get some approaches going, maybe clear some boards. Definitely get some control going on. And we're on the play, but I actually think this is going to have to be a mulligan. This is a little bit better, but it's still not fantastic. We don't have any way of getting planes, but I don't think that we want to go down another card, so let's put back this ECD. Maybe it was the approach. Not sure there. I think either way, we're pretty tough waters here. Definitely hoping that our opponent's a creature deck, and then we really just need to hit some lands. Okay. And creature deck they are. Looks like we're up against red deck wins or some form of beatdown deck like that. Let's go and just crack this. Let's get a land into play tap now. Then we can set up for this Doomscar later. And let's see if they just have something like a Robber the Rich. We're definitely going to take some damage here for a bit. I think we just need to play our cards to survive here. And then maybe hit this eventually if we end up drawing some lands in a row. Okay, Soulscar Mage. So right now that's not attacking that we know of. And Bomat is, so we're going to take 1 point of damage. And we're going to take quite a bit next turn. Let's go and just put this into exile. So our opponent kind of knows that we have a board wipe. Or we would think that they do. Okay, Rolling Vortex, pretty good card. Definitely prevents us from gaining some life here. We're going to take 6, go down to 12. And we could wipe the board. I think that's fine, yeah. I was thinking we wanted to maybe Wandering Emperor to gain some life, but the fact that we get rid of 2 cards from our opponent is really good. Even if they end up using this when we cast our approach. It's also looking less likely that that happens. Okay, so let's farmhand. Let's go get another Plains. We'll play that. Let's play Spirited Companion. Okay, so we're probably trading with the Ragavan token here, which is a bit unfortunate, but I don't really think we have much else going on. We would rather our opponent tap out here, but looks like they're going to keep the mana up. Yep, going to attack. And I think we block here. Go down to 8. Let's see if they have a follow-up play. I would rather them tap out, obviously, but seeing as how they're short on mana, it could just be that they're holding up the Rolling Vortex to gain some life. Okay, Soulscar Mage, so we got pretty lucky that they did tap out. Go down to 7. But let's gain some life. Let's get rid of the carry Zev because it's more of a problem. And maybe the Wandering Emperor ends up getting attacked this turn. So we're holding on to dear life here. Okay, Desert. Pretty surprised they didn't kill the Wandering Emperor there. Okay, Festivities is going to do it though. And we might be dead here. Let's see what our opponent has. Can he play with fire? So go to 5. Yep, so this is going to be 4. So we can actually cast Wandering Emperor now. Oh, whoop. We needed to gain some life there. That's my bad. Even if we did, we're still tapped out. So even if we did, we still end up losing to what our opponent has. So a bit rough there. Just so much stuff going on. Let's see here. Red deck wins. Could bring in the Archon because it's a little bit slower. But I think we're just hoping to lean on our board wipes here. I think we just got a little bit unfortunate there. Ketra not really going to do it. I am thinking of the Archon because it's them casting less spells and it's a cheaper card to get into play. So let's cut these ECDs because they're not really going to do anything, I don't think. And let's see. Maybe the Giant Killer, but it doesn't really kill anything is the problem. This can gain some life. Let's see. Yeah, I think we just still bring in the Giant Killer. It can be like a cheaper card early. Alright, let's see if we can get through this. I mean, it's going to be kind of tough considering they can get a pretty quick start. We definitely fell a little bit flat with our tap land there early in the game. It's another questionable hand. We've got a couple redraws on the play. I think this is almost more keepable than the hand that we had before where we did mulligan. So let's see if we can get some good redraws and be able to cast our bigger cards later. Like the Wandering Emperor's going to be pretty good here again, just because it gains us some life. So yep, going to get a Spirited Companion down. And History of Benalia probably not coming down yet, unless we draw an untapped land. So opponent with the tap land, potentially hurting on mana here. Could attack. I don't think that we block. Okay, Ronin. I think we can just take the 3 for now. Okay, we had a Doomscar, which is pretty good, but Ronin does get around Doomscar. Let's play the Spirited Companion to dig deeper into the deck. Alright, let's play Fable. Let's crack it. And I think we'll just pass it back. Definitely looking for a 4th land here. If not, I mean, we can put Doomscar to the side and then still have a board wipe here in a couple turns. History of Benali's not bad. Alright, so they get a flyer down, and they'll probably recast the Ronin. I don't really see a reason not to. If they do, then we just double block the Soulscar. I think it's worth taking some damage over. But if we double block the Ronin, then we know it's gone for good as well. I think I'd rather tie up their mana. I think it's worth taking a little bit more damage this turn. Okay, we hit Archon, so we can go get a land, or we just play History of Benalia. Archon's pretty good too, because it definitely slows them down a bit, so let's play that. Just because they can block their 2/2, and then if they just play Ronin, that's actually just the only turn, or excuse me, the only spell they'll be able to get to play. So Archon should slow them down quite a bit here. And I think we'll just take the point of damage. If they have a Skewer the Critics, then that's fine. They can use it on the Archon. It's better than it being used on our face. Okay, Kumanos. So we're going to go down to 12, unfortunately. And we do hit a land, but it comes into play tapped. I think that we play History for a blocker. We can play this Ondoom Virgin tapped. And then we still have mana for the Wandering Emperor next turn. I think we just pass here. If they play the Reinforced Ronin, then we're pretty happy about it. And it looks like they just have a Play with Fire on our 2/2. Yep. That's fine. They're wasting burn spells on our creatures. We're a lot happier than if they're going to our face. And as I stated, we're going to be able to potentially gain some life off this Wandering Emperor now as well. And we get another 2/2 off of the History of Benalia, so looking to stabilize maybe here this game. And we're just going to take the damage, and definitely think that they have a trick up their sleeve for this Archon, and we don't want them to just kill it with like a stomp or anything like that. Okay, Fervent Champion coming down. We hit Castle Arvindale. So now we have Wandering Emperor. We're just going to come in for 2. Start coming back on our opponent. We also have this Settle the Wreckage that can just get rid of all their creatures if they end up attacking all out. So I think we're doing pretty good here. See if our opponent taps out. And they have a Play with Fire for our creature again. That's fine. Completely okay with that. And I do think that a Settle the Wreckage might end up being better, especially if they play Ronin here. If all they have is Ronin, I mean, Settle's definitely the card, just because we'll get rid of all their permanents. And let's see, so they're still going to do it. I think we just settle here. Just get rid of all their creatures. No reason not to. It's a 3-for-1. We're at 11. History's going to go off, but it's not like it's going to pump anything, unfortunately, but I don't really think that matters. We're still looking pretty good. We're 2 mana away from an approach, which gains us 7 as well. I think we should be able to get to that point in the game. So, subtle hits. They'll go ahead and get 3 lands and a play tapped. And they still have 4 cards in hand. Yep, Fanatical Firebrand looks pretty good. And our night creatures that we would have had get bigger, but let's go ahead. Let's see, what can we get back? Spirited Companion seems pretty good. Let's get a Plains, get closer to this approach. That way we can just double approach. And I think we'll just go ahead and put this to the side. No attacks, just pass it back. If they want to kill our companion, that's fine. We're just going to get it back with the restoration. But we do have to discard a good card to do it, so... Okay, just going to kill the Archon this way, and that's fine. Wasting a lot of cards to do it. They could just Bone Crush and play the Reinforced Ronin, which is okay. So Ronin and Bowmat Courier. If they attack with the Bowmat, do we block that? Take the 2 damage. I think that's fine. So we draw the Plains anyways. We'll just approach. Go back up to 16 and then approach again. And that should be the second game for us here. Even if they had the Vortex down, we would still be able to fight through it just because we're at 16 right now. So, yep, they can get the Rolling Vortex down, but it's not really going to matter. If they Ronin, then yeah, we'll just take all this damage, go down to 11, and then cast another approach. So as you can see, we definitely got enough time to use our approaches again against a fair deck here. And we get a creature as well. Lots of value going on for us there. So let's cast this approach, move on to game 3. So looking to survive yet again. I mean, the Archon definitely helped us out. And let's see here. Is there anything... it does have lifelink. But I don't really think that it's worth it. Would be over the Bank Buster. Is this better? It has lifelink. It does stop one of our cards from being able to do its thing and our companions. So it's a little bit awkward as well. But it does block Phoenix Chick pretty good. How much do we care about that? Maybe we cut a companion. Cut a farmhand and play a couple of these. Oh no, I still like the farmhands here. Maybe it's Lion Sash. Let's try a couple of them. They have lifelink and they can block the Phoenix Chick, and maybe just try to trade or get rid of a card out of our opponent's hand as well is something that's pretty useful from the card, so. See if we can get there. And the third game against Red Deck wins. Pretty quick deck. They were kind of mana choked here for the first couple games. So we got a little bit of some unfortunate things going on in game 1 for us. I think we can keep this hand. We're on the draw. We have a companion. And if we hit our third land, obviously we just have a bunch of good cards we can cast. So Ronin going to beat us up here. Definitely going to get in for some damage. It's been a really good card for them this matchup. And I think that we still just want to crack this. Let's just get that out of the way. Then now we can just cast all of our cards on time. Let's see if they just have like double Ronin. And they've got to have a 1-drop maybe. So we're going to go down to 16. We can use a Spirited Companion. And then maybe Restoration. Okay, light up the stage. Hits them some cards, but they can't use them yet. Let's play Spirited Companion still, even if it dies a Firebrand. I think I'm okay with that. Maybe we just cast the Archon next turn because it'll slow them down. Even if they kill it somehow. Okay, yep. Gonna use the Ronin. And let's see if they end up killing the Companion, which I think I'm gonna be okay with. Wow, they actually use a Play with Fire, so we're still gonna take 3. Which is quite a lot. Okay, we hit a Giant Killer. I think we just play Archon here because it's gonna slow them down. Just to be able to try to kill it. Even if they do go out of their way to kill it, then we're pretty happy with that. We have 2 Restorations here to potentially give us some card advantage with the Spirited Companion. Right now, we're definitely not in the best of shape. Okay, Play with Fire plus the Firebrand. Might just have to cast the Giant Killer as a 1/2 next turn just to have something on the battlefield. And this Ronin's definitely putting in some work. We're down to 11 here. And let's see if we can farmhand into the Giant Killer. We can also Restoration. I think Restoration and Giant Killer is better. So let's go get a Plains. Let's just play the Giant Killer as a blocker. I don't really mind that. Especially if they come in with their creature land, then we want to have something good that blocks, and then on the next turn we can settle. And we're just really hoping to get to like an approach here because it'll gain us a ton of life. We can discard a Plains to get back a Spirited Companion, which will be a redraw. And I think they might go for the Den of the Bugbear here. It does give them some cards. Okay, Ronin. And I think we just take the 2 damage. We can start tapping some creatures down with this Giant Killer as well, if that's ends up being in the cards here. Yep, we're going to go down to 9. And they have a Roiling Vortex, so gonna be a tough game for us here. We're not going to be able to gain some life, probably. Yep, gonna take a point of damage, go down to 8. So we hit Wandering Emperor, which is really good. We could just get rid of Restoration here. If we get rid of a land, it's not really gonna do it, I don't think. We do have Ambitious Farmhand. And the Restoration this turn. Yeah, that's fine. Let's get rid of a Plains. Let's get back Spirited Companion, get a redraw. Definitely trying to hit our Approach of the Second Sun pretty quick here. Okay, Bankbuster. So let's play Farmhand. Could also have Wandering Emperor maybe. That would have maybe been a better option, but I still think getting all these cards on the battlefield is pretty good. So let's get that. Let's get this down. So we can gain life, that's fine. It doesn't really do anything right now. We just get a Plains. We'll pass the turn back. We have some blockers. Still have some time. Really hoping that they just use their Den here. Okay, just going to take a point of damage. So it's definitely getting close for us here. Ronin, sure. Could just block. I'm really hoping that they use some removal spells on our cards. Okay. We can just get them back with the Restoration. I think we definitely block here. And they definitely have enough mana for Rolling Vortex no matter what, so we're in some trouble here. It's definitely... The timer's definitely ticking for us here. Okay, just a plains, not gonna do it. So I think we definitely thin our deck out here. Let's get Ambitious Farmhand back. Get a plains, play it. We have Bankbuster. Plus Wandering Emperor now, so... And even the Settle the Wreckage. We can maybe set up a turn where we can try to get our opponent here. Just because we'll have a lot of damage on the battlefield. So they're going to discard their Ronin. That's fine. That's pretty good news, I would say. Pretty low life, though. Things are not looking good. And they also have the Ramanap runes, which could kill us as well. So we're really looking for some life gain. Okay, Reinforced Ronin coming down. That's fine. And a Fervent Champion. And they're going to attack, which I find kind of interesting here. We'll just make some blocks. Get a 1/1 token. They're at 16 if they tap out for this. Let's see. Can maybe just redraw off the Bankbuster. Is that better? They're at 16. Let's see. Alright, go to damage. Either way, they just have a ton of mana, so we do this. That means that they can't use their Ramanap Ruins, though, because they have to spend a red mana on the Rolling Vortex. So I actually think we're okay kind of like baiting them here. And then either way, they actually don't get their Ronin back. Yep, that's fine. We're going to go down to 5. So things are getting pretty close here. Okay, Archon isn't really going to do it, though, I don't think. Let's crew here. Yep. Pump this up. Maybe we just attack here. Says Vigilance, yeah. Get a 1/1. Next to blockers. Flip this over. See if they remember to use their Rolling Vortex. Looks like they do. Yep. So we get to deal them a lot of damage. We actually get them down to 4 here. Could play Archon or hold up the Settle. I think holding up the Settle is fine. So looking to dodge a burn spell pretty much here, just because if you get hit with the burn, we have a pretty good chance of probably just dying, because they'd have enough mana to crack their Ramanap Ruins, hit us with the burn spell, and then the Rolling Vortex kills us on upkeep. So let's see if they have it here. Looks like they're going to use the Ramanap, maybe. It's pretty close. Okay, Bomat Courier. Not going to do it. It could get them a card. So we just do this now. Before they get the card under the Bomat Courier. So that way they're not able to hit a burn spell here. Because the Settle's going to resolve before the redraw resolves off the Bomat. So we might have this game still. It's getting pretty close here, down to the wire for sure. Yep, tap land. They went to attack. Something got exiled face down. And they can Ramanap us, but it's not going to kill us. It's just going to put us down to 3. Yep, opponent's going to do it. Gets us down to 3, and then we'll go down to 2 on our upkeep. And we actually end up surviving here somehow. I don't know how we did it, but... Yep, just can't gain life, that's fine. And our opponent's going to concede. We already had enough attackers anyways, but... just to be safe, so pretty grindy matchup there. We actually came back from definitely a position I didn't think we were going to be able to come back from. So let's go and see in the post-game wrap there. Alright, and as you can see, just a pretty strong deck overall. We were definitely able to do some really powerful things, specifically against the fair decks like we saw our first matchup against pretty much like a Gruul deck. They weren't really able to do too much. We just had inevitability with the approach of the Second Sun, and they're trying to play the mid-range game, but we play that better considering that a lot of the cards that we have in our deck are controlling. Obviously, where we ended up failing at was the control matchup. That's always going to be a lot harder to deal with because, you know, most of our cards just don't line up with what they're doing. Our deck is based around board wipes and removal spells, and the fact that they don't really play any creatures and do things like that, then we're not necessarily going to be able to do our game plan to full capacity. But overall, I think that this is definitely a deck that is going to be good on the ladder, and I also think it's great for a tournament. So if you haven't already, definitely check out the links in the description below. We host 3 tournaments a month, all are free to play with cash prizes, and I hope that you stay cheesy.